Tuesday, April the 7th. Let's get right to it. Yesterday we talked about classifications of drugs. Today we are going to concentrate on one of those, and we're going to talk about marijuana, cannabis plant, hemp plant, whatever you want to call it. Typically, hemp is referred to anything with THC levels lower than 0.03. Marijuana higher than 0.03. We'll get to it here. All right, so there's a big debate whether we should legalize marijuana, not legalize it. And right now, as of last trimester, things obviously change from month to month, state to state approves, bans it, whatever you want to call it. 21 states, some way, some form, legalize medical marijuana, whether that means growing it or allowed to use it for medical purposes. 21 of our 50 states. 9 states use it for recreation purposes. All right, so that's kind of where we are in our society in the United States. Who legalizes it, who doesn't? Whether you're a proponent for it, against it, what doesn't really matter. Let's talk about some of the basics. Let's talk about some of the facts. Some of the facts were people that were wanting to legalize marijuana. They're saying CBD. Okay, that is the medical part of marijuana, where they said, oh, there's so many benefits to it, and some of them have. Their claims are accurate. Some of them are a little far-fetched. For instance, they used to run on a platform, people that were for legalizing marijuana, they were like, oh, it's great for glaucoma. Well, glaucoma is an eye disease, pressure in the back of your eyes, and if you'd smoke marijuana, that would relieve some of that pressure, okay? Well, it was an option, not a great option, where eye drops is a far better option. You also had these people saying, well, it's great for pain. Well, we know we got better pain medicine than marijuana. People are saying, well, it's great for blindness, for people with diabetes. It's great for cancer, patients. It stimulates their appetite when they're going through chemotherapy. They're all true, but they're oftentimes better alternatives than marijuana, except for this right now. People are saying, well, it's really good for seizures, people with epilepsy. And yeah, we have certain types of medicines for epilepsy, but there is some sound proof to what they're talking about with CBD really helping those types of patients where other medicines haven't. So a lot of research, a lot of information is going on about the positive about CBD. The negatives about marijuana, which is the high, the THC level, that gives the person of why somebody might want to try recreation. All right, to get that high. So I have a chart here, and it talks about THC levels. And what people don't understand is THC levels have increased so much in the last 30 to 40 years. Okay, so if your parent was in high school back in the 80s or 90s, the THC level back then, okay, in the 80s or 90s, was about 0.05 to 0.08. Okay, the high wasn't near the high it is now, where the THC level is 0.12 and 0.20. Well, the reason why it's higher now is think about all the different ways that people either grow it and they grow it more effective. Think about anything. Your phone might have been used to the old flip phone. Well, we used to not even have cell phones. Then it went to like a flip phone, and now you have iPhones. They're almost like mini computers. Things constantly get better over time. And the way we've either growing it, planting it, harvesting it, as well as now we can synthetically make THC in labs because it's you're legal to do it in some states for medical reasons. So here's the thing I want you to understand. One of the big side effects to the THC level at 0.05 to 0.08 is it stimulates appetite. So it gives somebody the munchies, so to speak. Okay, that's not all that bad. Okay, but that's not the marijuana that we're currently using. The marijuana that we're currently using is here. And what we know with THC levels at this height is it is way, way, way more potent in terms of causing anxiety problems. People are starting to have a lot more panic attacks nowadays. And we can kind of correlate it back to the THC levels. Furthermore, the dangers of marijuana, especially for you all. Your brains are constantly developing. We talked about that. Your brains will not fully develop until your mid-20s. And how a brain of an adult taking marijuana and a brain of an adolescent or a child or a teenager is quite different. All right, this is what the brain is with teenagers. We know marijuana affects all parts of the brain. We also know that it can lower IQ points. Okay, I've seen one study as high as 6 points, which is dramatic. We know that you are far less likely to graduate high school smoking marijuana. Not saying that you won't, okay, but we know that just based on rates, students' grades do this. Dropout rates go like this. All right. We also know that it increases rates of schizophrenia. We know it increases rates of suicide. So please be very careful about marijuana. It's not just some type of recreation drug that we should quickly dismiss. I'll say this, and there's always an argument again, is it a gateway drug or not? And if you listen to most experts that do this on a daily basis, that study it, most experts will say, yes, it's a gateway drug. And I agree with them. Now, hear me out on this. We talked about this in Unit 1. Think about behavior, human behavior. People typically start off small, low, a conservative method, and then they escalate. When you guys are going to turn 16 and you're about ready to drive, you will get into a car, your parents will teach you how to drive, and it will probably be in an empty parking lot. Slow speeds, very conservative, going 10, 15 miles an hour in a parking lot. And then you will try to increase it, go onto some back roads, subdivision roads, going 20 miles an hour, whatever. And then you might go to 30 to 40. On day one, you do not jump in a car and immediately hit the interstate driving 70 miles an hour. That's not human behavior. It's not human behavior with drugs either. So nobody throws off the covers and say, wow, it's a great day to start cocaine. They don't. They start off with something small and then they gradually build up. All right. I am a big advocate of saying, yes, it is a gateway drug. Doesn't mean that somebody's always going to go to those harder drugs, but typically they start with marijuana. So there was a study that people that tried meth, heroin, and cocaine, and if they're honest about what they answered in their survey, over 90% of them said, yes, they started with marijuana before they ever went to those harder, more potent drugs. There is a worksheet I want you guys to do with this. It's on my Google Classroom. Please fill it out, submit it back into me. If you're having a hard time, take a picture of it, email it to me, and we'll constantly work through all these technical problems that all of us are having, whether it be my class or some other class. But we miss you guys. Hope you guys are having a great day. And tomorrow we'll come back. We'll talk about stimulants. We'll talk about cocaine, and we'll start talking about methamphetamines. All right. Have a good day, guys.